got the rest of our lives to be mediocre, but we have the opportunity to play like gods for the next half of football. But we can't be afraid to lose. There's no room for fear in this game.
This is the New Hampshire High School Football Show.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
You can't stand the way this place is. Take yourself to higher places.
I don't want them to gain another yard.
You blitz all night. If they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm going to take every last one of you out.
The New Hampshire High School Football Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
You got heart, charisma, and a lot of skill.
Take yourself to higher places.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier and Dave Haley from NHSportspage.com.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Let's go play some football. Let's go.
Good morning and welcome to another season, another edition of the New Hampshire High School Football Show. We bring it to you each and every Saturday morning between 8 and 9 a.m. now on News Radio 610 and 96.7. Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley, NHSportspage.com. David, happy football season.
Yeah, we're back, huh?
I'm very, very excited about it. Got a great show coming up over the next hour. Lots of upsets, lots of scoring last night around the state of New Hampshire.
That's particularly where we were.
Yeah, out on the seacoast, Portsmouth and Trinity in a marquee matchup in Division 2. 16 other games around the state of New Hampshire. We'll talk about that one in depth, get into some of the other games, the big ones, namely an upset coming out of Bedford, New Hampshire. Welcome to Division 1, the Bulldogs. For all the scores from last night, let's get to it right now with our scoreboard, brought to you by the New Hampshire Liquor Commission and the Division of Enforcement, the Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors. With the scoreboard, here's Dave Haley.
Yeah, Bedford, that was the game of the night, and I'm really glad I talked you out of covering that game for us last night. But yeah, Bedford with the first post-James Caparel win, and it was a big one, 14-12 over Pinkerton. Dan Colella with a touchdown pass late to Nick Vallis, who had a huge game catching the ball for Bedford. Timberlane with a 2014 win over Alvern. Eric Nelson led a late drive for Timberlane. What was a really competitive game. Timberlane looked pretty good in the Jamboree, so they're 1-0. Londonderry rolls 49-14 over Manchester West. Keene 34-0 over Nashua North, which it doesn't shock me that Keene won that game, but it shocks me that at the totality of that final score. But Nashua South 34-24 over Spalding. That game played in Rochester. Pete Terrier has told all of us a million times that Nashua kids hate driving to Rochester, so they pull that out with a 10-point win. Merrimack gets a big win, 47-20 over Goffstown. And again, we were at Trinity 58-37. Carmen G. and Petruzzi, I had him for 12 for 16, 346 yards. Some people had him 400 yards, so I have to check it. But he had 4 touchdown passes, 2 rushing, an interception, a 40-yard punt, and he sold the raffle tickets at halftime. I think he ran that 50-50 raffle at the half. Memorial with a 20-7 win over Salem. It's a nice win for Memorial. In Division 2, Lebanon, my sleeper pick, it makes me proud. 34-0 over Conval on opening night. Lebanon returns 8-11 starters on both sides of the ball. So I think that I picked them to make the playoffs this year in Division 2. It's a nice start. St. Thomas all over Kearsarge, 36-14. Kearsarge had a very senior-dominated team a year ago. Oliver Gallo, Peter Allen, they lost those kids, so maybe a down year for Zach Matthews and those guys. But St. Thomas, who I think will make the playoffs with a 36-14 win there. Kennett with a really nice win, 16-14 over Hollis Brookline. Great win there for Mike Holdeman and those guys. Wyndham 28-7 over Hanover. Laconia opened their new field that they named after Jim Fitzgerald, their old Hall of Fame coach. But Pembroke wins at 36-23 over the Sachems. Monadnock 40-7 over Sauhegan.
Bellevue saw the writing on the wall.
Boy, oh boy.
40-7 losses to Monadnock. I'm retiring.
these coaches are not dummies, and a lot of times, I'm not saying that Bellevue did this, but Mike did this, but a lot of times you get out when you can see the cupboard's going to be bare for a few years. But Monadnock, Isaiah Prince with a huge game at quarterback for Monadnock, and Monadnock, a team I picked to make the playoffs with a really impressive start. I mean, they're the Division 5 defending champions, a big win in Division 2 now. Last 3 scores come from Division 3. Fall Mountain 40-8 over Newfound. Shane Tucker, the new coach over there at Newfound. Stevens in overtime over Somersworth in what could be a playoff preview even this early in the season. Stevens 31-25 over Somersworth. And finally, Bishop Brady in a game sort of like the one that I, and the great John Kester were at, 53-35 over Raymond. Bishop Brady with the win over Raymond.
Yeah, a lot of points on the board. One interesting note, an injury note that we don't know the full story on. Trevor Knight, outstanding quarterback for Nashua South. Coach's son apparently dislocates his thumb in the third quarter of that game. Had to come out, did not return. Reading what Joe Marcellina had to say in the Nashua Telegraph and following his Twitter, Scott Knight, the South coach, says it popped back in. They don't know if this is going to be a extended injury, if it's going to be a couple of days, a couple of weeks. They hope to find out more on that. So that would be a huge blow to Nashua South to lose their starting quarterback, Trevor Knight, because really it's all about Trevor Knight when it comes to Nashua South.
Yeah, absolutely. Rub some dirt on it. But yeah, we'll have to find out. Again, it's hard to speculate on injuries. I remember we were reading last night that Manny Lattimore had been out of the game a few times. It turns out he just had cramps, which is really good to hear because you don't want a kid that good or any kid to get hurt. So
hasn't he seen that Gatorade commercial?
Apparently not.
You gotta hydrate, Manny. I was looking at the Pinkerton roster, and I was reading down, and they have like 1 million names on the Pinkerton roster every year, especially at the start of the season. And I see this number 5, Emmanuel Lattimore. Oh, okay. So that's his real name, Emmanuel. So I think we're gonna call him Emmanuel Lattimore on this program.
Next week, Nashua South plays at home against Alvern. No disrespect to the Broncos, but if there's a game he could miss, that's a game he could miss.
There's a bunch of good games today, Dave, too. Division 1. I think the marquee game is tonight, Gill Stadium, part of that 100th anniversary celebration of Gill Stadium. Can you believe Gill Stadium has been around for 100 years now? It looks great. I mean, when the Fisher Cats came in 2004 and they played there that first season, they renovated it. They made it very, very nice. So they fixed up the press box. It's a good playing surface. You got Concord. You got Central tonight at 7 o'clock. Big fireworks display after the game. I expect that to be a big, big crowd tonight and a really good game, too.
Yeah, a very good game. I was very impressed with Concord last week in the Jamboree.
Me too. Those 2 outstanding running backs, their outstanding quarterback, Robbie Law, they're going to be a contender in Division 1. You got Dover at Exeter this afternoon, Bill Ball Stadium. Exeter plays on Saturday, I think, for the first month of the season. So if you get a chance, I have more opportunity on Saturday to get out and see some different teams, look at the different games, and see where I want to go. You could check out Dover at Exeter this afternoon at 2 o'clock, the 2-time defending champs Blue Hawks. And then a good one at Stello Stadium in Nashua, Winnicott at BG.
Yeah.
Old school championship game type of situation in Division 2. Both teams now in Division 1. You got some Division 2 games, Merrimack Valley at John Stark, my old high school buddy Dave Jackson, his Pride. Playing for Pride. They had a tough season last year in Division 4.
So did John Stark.
Yeah, so that should be an interesting game.
Carson Dunn, very, very good player for John Stark.
Very good running back.
Yeah.
You got Kingswood at Plymouth. Chuck Lenahan, his last year. Congratulations, Chuck. We're sending you a rocking chair.
Did I tell you what he said to me when I called him for the preview? I said, "Who are you opening with?" He said, "The undefeated, unscored upon Kingswood Knights." I said, and this please not to offend anyone in Wolfboro, but I said, because I love getting a coffee out there by the lake, but I said, please, do not try to tell me right now you're gonna have a tough time in the opening. He goes, you never know.
That's Chuck Lenahan.
So, sometimes you do know.
43rd and final year. I had heard back in the spring, because I have some business in Plymouth, and I was talking to one of the guys, and I said, "Do you know Coach Lenahan?" He's like, "Yeah, he's retiring next year. This is going to be his last year coming up." This was back in April or something like that. So I had heard about it back then, and it was officially announced a couple of weeks ago. So it's going to be a final season, and who knows? We could have another championship.
Yeah.
Why not finish it off with 20? I'm sure the folks at Trinity and Portsmouth and some of those those other teams in D2 don't want to hear that. But hey, I'm cheering
They're the
for
favorites.
Lenahan this year.
I
and
mean, the
Plymouth
favorites.
Bobcats.
Let's not ignore the game of the day, by the way.
Well, I want to get to Milford at Sanborn
Well,
in
that's
D2
not what we were talking about.
because I got to give props to my boy Darren Root, who used to work at this station. He's one of the Milford assistants. I saw him last night at Portsmouth out scouting. So good luck to the Spartans when they take on Sanborn.
What about
You
the
got
game of the day?
D3, the game of the day that Dave is talking
There we
about.
go.
Guilford at
Up to Newport, baby.
Making the trip to Newport.
Jack Athanas, quarterback for Guilford. Golden Eagles, baby.
You got Pelham at Bow, Farmington Newt at Epping, Newmarket, Mascoma at Winnisquam, and then Franklin at Interlakes, Molten Borough.
Right now, Guilford has a better record right now than Pinkerton.
And they're unbeaten and unscored upon.
Absolutely.
Just like those
Absolutely.
Kingswood team.
They will be for about 5 minutes when they kick off today.
We'll take a quick timeout, come back. We'll get into the game that both me and Dave Haley were at last night, and we had covered on nhsportspage.com. You're going to see a lot of highlights on video
Yeah.
later on this morning.
You get a lot of
Kesty-
highlights when you score 90 combined points.
when it's 58-37, there's a lot of highlights, and you're going to want to check that out because Carmen Gianpetruzzi threw the ball all over the place.
Carmen Gianpetruzzi's going to want to buy that DVD because I'm telling you, that's one he can show his kids someday.
So we'll talk about Portsmouth Trinity at length in the next segment. We'll get into that Pinkerton-Bedford game as well, kind of go around the league. We got Ryan Ray, the Central coach, coming up a little bit after the bottom of the hour. It is going to be a great first week show on the New Hampshire High School Football Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Welcome back to the best local coverage of New Hampshire high school football on the New Hampshire High School Football Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Pete Terrier along with Dave Haley, nhsportspage.com, week 1. The New Hampshire High School Football Show. We're doing it each and every Saturday morning on News Radio 610 and 96.7. Got the Manchester station where we do the studio. The legendary WGIR AM 610 Seacoast affiliate FM station 96.7. I'm Pete Terrier. That's Dave Haley. You can also watch the video cast of the show on nhsportspage.com. John Kesty, our videographer, in rare form, already in week 1. And boy, do we have a highlight-packed game from last night on the Seacoast. Little behind-the-scenes talk right now about how we decide where we're going to go on a Friday night and bring the camera out there and get video. I told Dave, marquee matchup in Division 1. You got a new team in there, Bedford. Big school, big roster, up-and-coming program. You got Pinkerton, obviously a longtime power in New Hampshire. 3,000 kids, biggest school in New Hampshire, maybe 4,000 in Pinkerton. I don't know what the enrollment is. We got to go to that game. Dave says, what about that D2 game, Pete? We got Portsmouth. We got Trinity. It's going to be a good matchup, which I agreed with. This game's going to be much more competitive than that Pinkerton-Bedford game. What do you know? 58-37. The other one, an upset special, 14-12. But I'll tell you what. I think I probably enjoyed last night's game more than I would have gone to a 14-12 game. I'll give you credit.
I think boy, that came around. That went full circle there. Yeah, no, you're right. I think. Listen, I'm covering Division 2 for the website this year. I talked to 10 or 11 coaches. It's really, I mean, Wyndham could be that fourth team, but it's really Plymouth, Portsmouth, Trinity. So I think when you get any of those two playing each other, and I know Portsmouth goes up to Plymouth later this year, and I believe Plymouth's coming to Trinity.
Yes.
You want to see that. Certainly for the highlights, 58-37, there's plenty to look at. But Carmen Gianpetruzzi was, last year when they lost at Plymouth, they got down big, and they had to throw the ball. And he was short-hopping some kids. And then other times he's putting it right on their hands, and they couldn't catch it because they weren't used to it. Now you got Tristan Thoreau and Ryan Baldwin at tight end. Both of them looked terrific last night. Thoreau is a big kid. I mean, they looked really good. Obviously, Austin Chambers was huge.
Who knew he could catch the ball like that?
They can catch the ball. And by the way, Carmen's putting it right in their hands. I mean, these are college-level throws. I mean, in stride hitting these guys.
Down the field.
Down the field. And it was early and often, and Brad Rhodes looked good. They got an offense there. And the Shepherd kid at the fullback, I think he only had like 22 yards. But, I mean, he's a kid who can pound it from a couple of yards out. Zach Poole's back from the broken leg. I mean, they have... I'm not sure what their depth is, But I'm telling you, with the Purdue kid on defense and Ian Landry, who got Donovan Fenora injured last night, they got some their frontline players are terrific.
Did you notice their center? He is 6'1", 300-something pounds. Nick Poole, a freshman.
Oh, yeah.
The
Freshman?
is a freshman.
No one's taking that kid's lunch money.
3'11", 3'11" and 6'1", starting center. You got. I mean, if he stays in school at Trinity,
yeah,
and doesn't go prep or go pro,
yeah,
they got themselves a solid foundation on that offensive line for 4 years.
They look good. These kids get along. They've been playing together a long time. And Portsmouth, the story is always his injuries. Their top two quarterbacks on opening night get hurt. One with an ankle, the other Ian McFarland had Nate McFarland, excuse me. Ian McDonald's the wide receiver. Nate McFarland with a neck injury. I heard he was going to the hospital to get looked at, so we hope he's okay. But they had to go to Connor DeCesare, who throws the ball well. If he has time to throw, their third-string quarterback, and he's young, there's like 19 DeCesares out there, and he's got a nice arm. But if he gets out of the pocket and he gets rushed a little bit, he has trouble with his feet. But they may have to go to him to start next week.
Well, I'll tell you what, that McDonald kid is a really good receiver, had a couple of touchdown passes, and I think caught a 2-point conversion. Jake Becker is a good running back. Other kid who can make some plays for Portsmouth. Jack Young had an 88-yard kickoff return for a touchdown.
Jack Young was their best player last
Michael
night.
Torr. I mean, the bus. The bus. Think Jerome Bettis.
Oh,
and you
yeah.
got Michael Torr.
He's a load, and the thing is that poor kid, I talked to Steve Burns, the head coach of Trinity, after the game, and they wore him out because he played nose tackle. So, I mean, he's in the trenches, and then he's supposed to get out and run the ball. He fumbled on the first play of the game, and the problem with Mikey Torr is, and by the way, Ports was at home against Laconia next week. They're going to roll in that game, so first string or third string quarterback, it won't matter. But Mikey Torr is such a big kid, so hard to bring down that he fumbles when he fumbles because there's like 7 kids pigpiling on him and grabbing the ball. But, yeah, Portsmouth, listen, Portsmouth's going to be fine. Defensively, they got to clean it up because 58 points is ridiculous. Russ Rousseau was their defensive coordinator. He's not there anymore. So they got to make some adjustments now.
Brian Pafford, first-year head coach, was on the staff of Bill Murphy. Nice moment, a sad moment before the game when they honored Sarge Pafford, who was Coach Brian Pafford's father. He passed away on Wednesday night, and he was a Portsmouth grad, class of 1958, known as the Sarge, Jim Pafford. They had a moment of silence for him prior to the game. And then a nice moment near the end of the game where I assume it's the coach's daughter, because her last name was Pafford, Izzy Pafford. She went out and kicked a point after that gave him the 37th point of the game. So
here's the problem for Portsmouth. Here's their problem, and I've off the record talked to a few of their coaches about it. They're not going to know how good they are until the middle of October because they play. This is their schedule: Laconia at home. Then they play Merrimack Valley at home. Okay, so they open with 3 straight. They go at Souhegan, who just lost 40-7 to Monadnock. Monadnock's good. Then they get Kingswood on the road. So this is their next 4 games. Laconia, Merrimack Valley at home, Souhegan, Kingswood. They're going to win those games by over 40 points, each one of them. So does that help you? And a couple of the coaches said they're concerned that...
I think it helps you after you lose your opener against a chief division rival or conference rival. We got to get in division rival, I guess you could say.
Right. They get St. Thomas at home, which will be a big game on the 11th. And then they play at Plymouth, which they'll figure out how good they are right then and there.
And I think, Dave, that I mentioned the conference and the division. And I'm still going to have to get used to that myself because the conference is the 5-team league within the division, and Portsmouth is in an easy conference.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the teams in their conference. So we'll see. I mean, that what we learned last night is that there were too many divisions. You know, I said off the air a couple years ago, St. Thomas with Ryan Monette. And what's the name of the quarterback they had? It was really good, the big kid who used to throw the ball. But anyway, I'll think of it. But anyway, St. Thomas and Trinity both won Division 4 and Division 5, respectively. And you sat there and go, I think St. Thomas could beat them, or it was going to be very close, and they're both champions. It didn't make any sense. Well, last night you see Monadnock rolling, Lebanon rolls over Conval. I mean, lower-level teams, you know, it's good that it's down to 3.
Bedford beating Pinkerton.
Listen, Bedford in all sports is the next great program. I mean, they're going to be a power. And basketball, I'm telling you, if Fitzy stays there, they're going to be You knew I'd work basketball into the show.
Hey, it's okay. I want to talk about that game a little bit, and it was a low-scoring game. I think Bedford's defense is probably better this year than they were last year. Their offensive line was brand new last year.
Yeah.
And they protected James Caparell. What a tremendous talent he was. Brian Collins, both of those guys now playing football at URI. They have the Velas cousins back, Nick and Mike Velas back. Nick Velas had the game-winning touchdown. They bring in a quarterback, Jeff Colella, who neither one of us had ever heard of before last night, and he goes and throws a game-winning touchdown.
Eric Glassman had 2 fumble recoveries on defense for them.
This win by Bedford over Pinkerton is a statement win.
Oh, yeah.
And I think actually Brian O'Reilly doesn't really mind it so much because it's in week 1. Yeah, it counts in the standings, unlike recent years, where that week 1 game was a crossover game and it didn't count against you in the standings. This one does. But I think Brian O'Reilly is going to be able to use this with his team and say, look, we just can't walk out there on the field here. This is a new Division 1. We got to be ready to play every single game. We can't take teams lightly. I'm not saying that they did, but he's going to use that and motivate it. You saw his quote in Roger Brown's story in the Union Leader. I wasn't surprised at all by this. Typical Brian O'Reilly saying, hey, we knew what was going on. These are the things that we need to fix. We know what we need to fix. We're going to fix them. We'll be okay.
Yeah, Manny Lattimore, 134 yards on 19 carries. That's not bad if you're Bedford. I mean, you'll take that.
Yeah.
I mean, 19 carries to get 134 yards. That kid is the best running back in the state. So, Glassman, like we said, a big game. Velas is one of the best wide receivers in the state. So, low scoring, but that's an impressive start for those guys. And they've got numbers. I remember talking to them in the preseason last year, and they had something like 80 kids over. They got numbers, and when you have depth, you gives the opportunity for kids to come out of nowhere. And football's a sport where if you hit the gym and you gain 10 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle over the off season, you can come out of nowhere, and I'm sure they've got a few kids that have done that. I mean, that's an impressive win. Without Caparell and those guys, it's a nice W.
To me, that conference, the North Conference, one of the toughest in all of New Hampshire high school football, especially in Division I. You got Concord, you got Manchester Central, you got Bedford. Memorial showed that they're going to be competitive with the win against Salem last night. Look, I think that's one of the toughest conference. I think that West Conference where the Nashua schools and BG, well, BG is a Nashua school. You got Keene, you got Alvern. I think that one's pretty tough too, top to bottom as well.
Yeah, I like Bedford. I like the chances of Bedford and Concord to come out of there, but Bedford gets West next week, so they're going to be 2-0. West is kind of down, a little struggling. Londonderry with a nice win. Goddard had a nice game for Londonderry last night, so that will be a good one. But yeah, we're going to have to see how this thing shakes out because there's a lot of teams that haven't played each other before, and they're unfamiliar. Even the coaches are unfamiliar with the tactics of the guy across the field.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back in a couple of minutes, talk some Manchester Central High School football. We got Ryan Ray. Josiah Wade showed up on his doorstep this summer.
What a nice little gift.
I know. Here's 2,200 yards worth of offense from last year in a Division 6 situation with Campbell. We'll talk to Coach Ray in just a couple of minutes when the New Hampshire High School Football Show returns on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
And Portsmouth to Plymouth, the New Hampshire High School Football Show brings you the best coverage in the state on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Coming up on 8:35 on your Saturday morning, the first week of New Hampshire high school football. Halfway done, had 17 games across the state last night. More games coming up today, including a game involving our next guest. Ryan Ray of Manchester Central joins us on the phone line. His team will be hosting Concord tonight in a game that's part of the 100th anniversary celebration of Gill Stadium. And Coach Ray, he was at Gill Stadium back in 1913 when they opened it up. Were you not, Coach?
Thankfully, no.
Well, good morning, Coach, and happy football season. You got to be excited to kick it off for real tonight against Concord at 7 at Gill.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to be a part of the 100-year anniversary of Gill Stadium, but even more so, we're thrilled to be playing real football games tonight.
Coach, how has it gone with having Josiah Wade be the new guy that I don't know if he's going to get he's going to be the primary back for you. I know you got a couple of kids who carry the football, but how has it been? How's it been integrating him into the team?
He's absolutely been awesome as a person on our team, and as somebody who's come in really eager to learn and get all the things done that he needs to get done. So I was a little leery, to be honest with you, once I heard his resume coming from Campbell High School, that he might be one of these guys that thought he knew it all, but he certainly didn't act that way, not for 1 second. He was a great addition to our team, great young man. He's done everything we've asked him to do, and he will certainly be a big part of our team this season.
Coach, here in the radio world, and you hear the chatter, the parents and the people from other schools, especially in the Manchester area, always talking about the transfer situation within the city of Manchester. Kids go from Trinity to West or West to Central or whatever, any combination. And it's not just football, it's basketball, it's all the sports and all the schools. And people question, oh, gee, another big stud ends up at Central for football, or another big basketball stud is playing for Dave Keefe at Trinity. How do you kind of handle that type of people, the sarcasm? And I like to look at it as flat out jealousy in most cases. How do you handle it in a situation like that?
We ignore it, to be honest with you, because most of those people don't really have a clue with what's going on. We had a great young player last year transfer from us to go to Memorial, and it was for school reasons. It was for things that was going to help him out in life. So we hate to see him go, but you know what? Somebody left Central to go to Memorial, and he was going to be a great player for us, and he's going to be a great player for Memorial. Josiah, to my best of my knowledge, his mom had to make a move from the Litchfield area to the center of Manchester, and I don't think he was happy about it at all. I think he wanted to finish out his senior year with all his friends in Litchfield at Campbell High School. So, it's too bad for Campbell. It really is. I don't mean that sarcastically, but it's obviously awesome for us. There's a lot of things going on in people's lives more than high school sports, and sometimes kids have to make moves that are best for themselves. And when I say that, I mean their family has to make moves that are best for themselves. And when you're a big-time athlete, or when you've had a pretty nice resume like somebody like Josiah Wade had last year at Campbell, that everybody looks at it like it's something that's going on that's wrong. But for most of the transfers that I've seen going one way or another, they're so legitimate. It's not even funny. And then I do get a chuckle out of the people that say, "Oh, he's just going there to play football, or he's just going there to play hockey or baseball or soccer, whatever it might be." And in reality, it's not really the case.
You have to replace Riley Cody at quarterback and one of the best wide receivers in the state last year, Troy Pelletier, who's at my alma mater, Bridgeton Academy, as we speak, with a bunch of guys and not one girl on that campus. But I'm sure he's focused. But you, during the off season, I know it's been big. A lot of schools doing. I know Portsmouth, a lot of schools, Dover, do the 7-on-7 football during the off season. Do you do that with Central? Is that a way that you can kind of integrate a new quarterback and a new wide receiver, and kind of get some rhythm between the kids even before you start the practice?
Oh, absolutely. But, it starts way beyond before that. Our coaching staff, all our coaches coach all their players, meaning, varsity guys, JV guys, freshman guys, they all get coached the same way. So we have a pretty good idea last year who was going to be our quarterback this year. And we had a good idea last year who would be replacing, Troy at wide receiver this year. So nothing, for the most part, none of that comes as a new surprise. None of the plays are any different between the freshman level, the JV level, and the varsity level. So as soon as the season gets done, we turn the page and we start looking at the guys that we hope will help us, the following season. So, yeah, we've done the 7-on-7s, and we go out in the park across the street from Central, and we throw the ball around as soon as we can, and we do all those kind of things. And Troy and Riley will certainly be very difficult to replace, but I think we got some guys that will be able to compete and get out there on Friday and Saturdays and really show that we got some talent.
So who will be the starting quarterback for Central tonight in the game?
Tonight's starting quarterback will be Richie Greeley, a junior who has really worked hard to do some really nice things for us.
And you do not have Weekly on the team. He didn't come out for the team this year, but you do have Hector Velez back, outstanding running back, and catch the ball out of the backfield. Also a hard hitter on defense as well. I noticed that this Concord team has a running game. Last year, everybody knew about Nemo. I think he's the all-time leading rusher at Concord. Tolbert Nemo is. He's now graduated, but they got a couple of outstanding running backs. I was watching the video from the Queen City Jamboree, which, once again, congratulations on doing a great job putting that on, Coach Ray. But Concord is going to pose some problems defensively for you with two outstanding running backs and a great running quarterback in Robbie Law.
Yeah, they, I hope this doesn't come across like I'm putting them down. I don't know how good of a team they are because they haven't played any games yet, but I am positive they have some of the best talent in the state. They've got big offensive and defensive linemen. They've got very good wide receivers. They've got electric running backs. They've got a very good quarterback, and obviously that's just on offense. Defensively, they're so aggressive. They're big, strong, athletic. They fly around. They get to the football. So, man, it's going to be a huge challenge tonight, and it's going to be a huge challenge for everybody who's playing Concord this year. So, again, I don't know how great of a team they are, but on film and the players they have and the coaching staff that I know they have, man, I think it's going to be very tough on a week-in and week-out basis to beat Concord, no matter who you are.
Yeah, Coach, I'm looking at your first two games. I mean, what a way to... This is how you open the season. You get Concord tonight, obviously, with the big celebration at Gill, and then you play... Is it the first ever, Pete? The first ever night game at Pinkerton High School next Friday night?
Yeah.
It's not a shabby way to start it off. I think if College Game Day was following you guys around, you probably...
Lee Corso will be there, Coach. Trust me.
What's that?
I said Lee Corso will be there next week.
That's a pretty nice... That's a fun way to...
Big, but you know what? Everybody's heard the expression, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So we're going to find out a lot about who we are the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are two very, very good teams, and we got to be up to the challenge just to even stay in the game.
And Pinkerton's going to be in a lousy mood when you get there, by the way.
They're always in a lousy mood. I'd be in a lousy mood, too, if I went to the state championship game every year for 30 years.
Coach, let's talk about your conference. You got a tough one. We talked about Concord. They're in the league that you're in. Bedford, who beat Pinkerton last night, they're in your league. Only 2 playoff spots out of the 5 teams. You got West and Memorial and yourselves in there as well. I think that's one of the toughest conferences, especially at the top. I think it's going to be a real dogfight between you guys, Bedford, and Concord for those 2 playoff spots.
Well, honestly, I have no idea because I don't know what we are, and we're going to find out a little bit more tonight. I don't know what any of those teams are. I don't know how Bedford beat them. I don't know if Bedford just went out there and imposed their will on Pinkerton. I don't know if, Bedford might have got a couple lucky breaks. I don't know if Pinkerton turned the ball over 7 times. I don't know if Concord's going to come in here tonight and beat us 77-0. I don't know. In all honesty, other than the teams that played last night, nobody's played a real game for a long time. So, I think that all 5 teams in our conference can certainly make some noise. I know every year Memorial's dangerous. I know every year West is scrappy. I know every year Concord, it does some crazy things. And Bedford, since they, were born 5 or 6 years ago or whatever it was, man, they just keep getting better. So, I wish I could give you an honest answer. I really don't have an honest answer. I don't know who's going to be there at the end from our conference, but I do know it certainly will be difficult on a week-in and week-out basis.
How about a couple of kids from Central that we should be talking about or that we will be talking about that we're not talking about just yet?
That's a good question. I think the good thing that I like about our team right now is that we've got a lot of kids that are all on the same page. I don't think we don't have too many superstars. We don't have too many me guys. So I'm sure you'll talk about a few of them that will have some really nice seasons. But, our offensive line is a really good work in progress. They're really coming together. They're really communicating, and they look like they're going to be good by the end of the season. Our defensive line, our linebackers, our DBs, those are all groups that are working together like close-knit little families on our team. So I like where we're going. Again, I don't know how good we're going to be. Right now we're, I would say we're average at best, and we certainly can get better. But, this is high school football. A couple sprained ankles and a couple broken bones, and we're going to look pretty bad pretty quick. So, sky's the limit. But again, we can take a detour and go down a bumpy road if things don't go our way.
All right, Coach. Well, looking forward to the game tonight. I'll see you on the field afterwards. Gill Stadium, Concord, and Manchester Central. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, guys. We'll see you, and I enjoy talking to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ryan Ray, head coach of the Manchester Central Little Green, getting set for their season to kick off tonight, Gill Stadium, 100th anniversary celebration of the stadium, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. The bands are going to be playing, the high school bands, the soccer game this afternoon. I think they did a soccer game there yesterday between Alvern and I believe Manchester Central, and they got a big fireworks display coming up after the Central Concord game tonight. So fireworks on the field when those two teams meet, and then fireworks after the game. Should be a lot of fun. We'll take one final break, come back, go around the league a little bit, give our take on what we saw, where we screwed up with our picks. I mean, boy, did we catch a lot of grief from the Trinity people.
Oh, my God, they're
Just
all
about
over me.
everybody on the NHSportsPage.com staff
Lord.
picked against Trinity, and they put a hurting on Portsmouth last night. We'll go around the league when we return. The New Hampshire High School Football Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
You've found the best place for local high school football talk. It's a New Hampshire High School Football Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Heading up towards the top of the hour, 9 o'clock, wrapping it up week one of the New Hampshire High School Football Show. I am Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com. Dave giving kudos to our producer, Jennifer Wells, for playing a little Motley Crue coming back.
It's a start.
He's getting into the season.
It's a process.
We had some mixed results with our picks. See, I do picks in two different forums.
I do.
For the website. Oh, you do too as well.
Joe
Marcellina's site, nh-highschoolsports.com. And I don't know about you, but we do our staff picks on nhsportspage.com, and then Joe sends out an email, and he sends out different games. But I don't always refer to the picks that I did on NH Sports, so I could be picking, different teams to win the same game.
You're hedging your bets.
Yeah, I don't, and it's not purposely. It's just that, hey, I'm busy, I'm doing stuff, and a lot of these games I look at Monadnock, Souhegan. I'm like, what do I know about this particular matchup? So I went with Souhegan because I like Mike Bellevue. I know he's not there anymore, but I've known him a long time, and I'm comfortable with those guys. And, I met DJ Latito last year, who graduated from Monadnock.
Yeah.
A nice kid. He actually came up to me at a Conant basketball game and introduced himself to me. And I was like, oh, cool. It's nice to put a face to a name. But I didn't know anything, and you get 40-7 Monadnock. I missed that game. I obviously missed badly on the Portsmouth Trinity game. Everybody on our website picked Trinity, Portsmouth, except John Kesty, our videographer.
Well, it's like the great John Kesty. Well, it's like Ryan Ray just said on the. It's pretty hard with these preseason jamborees. Everyone's doing vanilla coverage, vanilla offense, so forth. It's kind of hard. You have to take, and obviously, Trinity, the coaching staff was, and I believe it was in fun, giving us grief after the game. I mean,
I'm not talking to you guys.
They're the Division III defending champions, and they're playing at home, with their starting quarterback back, and, how do you not pick them? But, by the way, the Isaiah Prince era, I think we'll be talking about him a lot at Monadnock. That kid can play. He's an athlete. But, boy, the game that we got wrong was, actually, I got it wrong, you got it right, was Nashua North getting crushed by Keene.
I saw that coming a mile away.
They lost a lot of seniors. Tanner Looper. And
I think they only lost, 4 seniors from that team.
Keene did?
Yeah. Well, one of them was Lucas Lupa, Alex Austin, a couple other guys that I'm not coming up with right now, but they got Parento back. All right, their big bull of a running back. He was actually doing some wildcat last year in that playoff game against Bedford.
Right, that was great.
Jimmy Heaney, outstanding defensive player, is back for them. They got the kid, I think, Tim Lane, Tom Galanis. So they got some talent at running back. So, and they're a defensive-minded team. I think they got 9 of their 11 starters from last year back on defense.
No kidding. They shut them out on the road. That game was in Nashua.
Right. And Nashua North, 2 years ago, they were making back-to-back appearances in the state championship game. But the cupboard is not quite so stocked for Jason Roby. They lost their offensive coordinator, Dante Lorendi, who's now coaching at Merrimack. Congratulations to him for beating up on Goffstown.
By the way, Devin Gillis with 5 touchdowns for Merrimack.
Big game for him.
He's very good.
And I saw some of the highlights on Channel 9 last night, the Friday Night Football with Jamie Staten. He throws a nice ball.
Yeah. He's a good player. They had a tough year last year, and that's a kid who's going to have I'm looking forward to watching him play this year.
Who's that other playoff team in the Pinkerton division? What is that? The South Division, I guess they call it. You got Pinkerton, you got Goffstown in that division, Salem, Londonderry, and somebody else.
Yeah, let me look at it right now. Londonderry looked really good, 49-7. They won last night.
But like I said, my question is, who's that other team that's going to make the playoffs in that division?
I was stalling when I pulled it up.
Could it be Londonderry?
That's what you do in radio. You just pretend that you're doing something else. Well, Merrimack looked good last night, and
That's
Londonderry.
right.
The second, Londonderry, Merrimack, Salem. I'm not sure. Goffstown.
To me, that's the weakest division.
Yeah.
And it may be even weaker now. Looking at Pinkerton losing last night to Bedford. Now that the Bedford could be legitimately a top 4 team in the state. Speaking of the top 4, the Union Leader WGIR WMUR Power Poll comes back on Monday. Did not do a preseason poll this year, but Week 1 poll, the post Week 1 poll comes out on Monday. That's going to be announced by Kelly Brown on the Morning Buzz.
Are you going to? You're preempting him. Are you going to do your ballot on the website on New Hampshire Sports Page?
Yes.
NHSportsPage.com?
Yes. I will reveal my weekly power poll ballot on NHSportsPage.com.
So that comes after McIsaac's ramblings on Monday morning. It's a nice little mix for the readers out there. It's too hard to say right now in that division, obviously, after Week 1. But, yeah, I agree with you that, Pinkerton is clearly the best team in that division, even though they're 0-1 today. I'm quite certain they'll turn around.
And in D1... we don't know how good BG is. We don't know how good Winnicott is. Winnicott's a team that lost a lot. They lost that dominating line that they had last year. Dyer.
Jordan
Cutting, yes. They lost those 2 big guys on the line and a couple other guys as well.
There are 2 BG teams. There is the team with C.J. Boykin. Not Boykins.
No S on the end of that.
Look at you.
No S on the end of that.
You're going to call me out and throw your camera at me. I call them. That's my goal.
It's because of Earl Boykins.
Yeah.
That's why everybody calls CJ Boykin.
I always call him Boykins, and it just, John Kessie goes crazy when I call him Boykins.
And so do I, by the way. I've killed you many times.
I'm 1 for 1, brother. I'm 1 for 1. CJ Boykin, when they have him, just on special teams alone, that kid returning punts, I wouldn't kick at that kid.
The quarterback is pretty good, Tommy Hurley.
Tommy Hurley's very good, but I'm just saying that he's excellent. But I'm just saying that they're a different team. He gets hurt a lot. That's the thing with CJ Boykin. He's a 2 for 2. He's a little guy, and so he had an elbow. He dislocated his elbow last weekend at the Jamboree, and every time that kid walks out the field, when I've seen him play, he's got an ice pack someplace on his body. So when he's right, they're an explosive offense. When he's not, I think Hurley throws the ball a lot more. That's what they'll do. But nice talking to Travis Cody after the game. It's his program now. It's his 3rd season, and he's really I think he's done a nice job over there. And
they're returning their quarterback, Inghout Wiesna. They've also got Alex Boucher back.
Oh yeah,
he's a good receiver.
Players Lounge kid. He's a player. That kid.
So we'll see what shakes out. You look at Division 2. Plymouth is going to make their debut this afternoon. We know they're going to be good.
They're going to crush.
Colin
today.
Sullivan, the quarterback, is back. John Thomas, I think, is
Jared
a tremendous
Cool.
player. Kyle Reisert, real big target for Sullivan.
Their whole thing is the line. They're replacing 7 kids who played on that line last year. If the line
they
comes
probably
in,
got 700 more 250 pounders coming back, and they're probably all freshmen.
Oh, Chuck Lenahan graduated from the Jim Mulvey school of we're gonna we might go 2-7, and I don't know.
All in all, I think a good Friday night. I really do think a good Friday night. Hopefully, the injury with Trevor Knight is not a serious one. Sean McDonald, obviously the head coach of UNH football, has recruited Knight, and Knight's going to play football for UNH. He's probably looking into those medical reports. He knows he's got a year or so, but I'm sure he'd like to see Trevor Knight play his senior year quarterback. And as a Nashua grad, I certainly would like to see the same as well.
Yeah, it's a good start. We'll have the brand new website probably for New Hampshire Sports Page launches. Probably now looking more like Monday, but we'll have all the scores and the statistics from the weekend up then.
And that highlight package, can't wait to see that. Trinity, Portsmouth, Carmen Giampetruzzi, 350-yard plus performance last night, throwing it. This ain't your Gary Leonard running football team from Trinity.
He drove the bus home, too.
He may be the best quarterback in the entire state.
Yep.
Want to thank Ryan Ray from Manchester Central for joining us on the phone. We'll be back at it next week, another hour-long show, the New Hampshire High School Football Show, Saturdays, 8 to 9 a.m., News Radio 610 and 96.7.